We have the biggest chronic disease. And of course, this is one of the reasons we had the highest death rate during COVID, because we have the highest chronic disease burden in the world. And, listen, it's not just the vaccines. And I never have said that. Our children are swimming around in a toxic soup. What we can say is most of it started in 1989, and there's a finite number of culprits that you can point to and say, it has to come from a toxic exposure, because genes don't cause epidemics. They can provide a vulnerability, but you need a toxic exposure. What is it? Is it, it could be glyphosate. It could be neonicotinoid pesticides. It could be PFOAs, which are the flame retardants that became ubiquitous, around that same timeline. It could be cell phones. It could be, Wi-Fi, radiation. So
That's unlikely.
What?
Isn't that very unlikely, though?
It could be ultrasound. Yeah, of course. Well, I think the Wi-Fi radiation is a lot worse than people think it is, but, I don't think...
How so?
Well, Wi-Fi radiation does all kinds of bad things, including causing cancer.
Wi-Fi radiation causes cancer?
Yeah, from your cell phone. There's cell phone tumors. I'm representing hundreds of people who have cell phone tumors behind the ear. It's always on the ear that you favor with your cell phone. And we have the science. So if anybody lets us in front of a jury, it will be over.
So what is the number? Because a lot of people use
There's
cell
a lot
phones.
of people with it. They're glioblastomas. That's the kind of cancers that they get. But cancer's not the worst thing. They also, it opens up, Wi-Fi radiation opens up your blood-brain barrier. And so all these toxins that are in your body can now go into your brain.
How does Wi-Fi radiation open up your blood-brain barrier?
Yeah, now you're going beyond my expertise. But what there are. I'm going to use a number here, and you're going to think it's hyperbole, but it's not. There are tens of thousands of studies that show the horrendous danger of Wi-Fi radiation,
So this is Wi-Fi that's in this room.
Yeah, it's
Wi-Fi
like
routers.
You should not be and you should not let your kids carry their cell phones on their breast, particularly a woman, because they're associated with breast. They shouldn't be holding them in the breast pocket. If you have to, put them in your butt pocket. You should not be having them near your head when you're sleeping. You need to get away, and you should never put one next to your head. You should always. I will never put this next to my head. I put it on. I put it on speakerphone or use earphones. But I won the case on this issue, suing FCC and FDA about it, and the court sided with me. So now they're going to have to go back to the drawing board and do it. But the Russians. Russians know more about Wi-Fi radiation than anybody. They developed it as a weapon, and a lot of the really good science came out of Russia. And the Russians won't let kids use cell phones in kindergarten or in grade school. A lot of the schools in Russia don't let cell phones in there because of the danger. And the levels of radiation that they allow from cell phones is like 1/100th of what. And I don't know exactly what it is, so that's a number people shouldn't hold me to, but it is a tiny fraction of what we allow in this country.
So the Wi-Fi radiation is obviously different than cell phone radiation. So you're talking about people that are just in a room with Wi-Fi are being exposed to something that's dangerous?
People have different sensitivities to it. Some people are extremely sensitive. They become completely debilitated from it. And
really?
We have
from
a woman,
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we have a woman who developed an allergy to Wi-Fi. She was in the Israeli Defense Forces, and she was in their cyber warfare unit. She was in a room with it all the time, and suddenly she developed and she's a brilliant lawyer. And she's one of the leaders of, in this movement to make sure that they don't put Wi-Fi antennas on elementary schools, which they're doing now. There's no control over where people put these antennas. So
what do you think Wi-Fi is doing to us, since it's everywhere and since everyone's experiencing, including you? What do you think it's doing to us?
I think it degrades your mitochondria. And it opens your blood-brain barrier.
Do you see anything online of how it could open up your blood-brain barrier?
I don't know about how, but
That it does?
I found an article. I was trying to find the validity of it, but it has a statement on here.
Damage the blood-brain barrier. Radio frequency radiation exposure has been shown to affect the permeability of the blood-brain barrier, as well as altering the expression of microRNA within the brain, which researchers state could lead to adverse effects such as neurodegenerative disease. Whoa. How come we don't know that?
And there's a doctor that did a study and said that it's been expanded on researchers in China, and there's a published article here, but I was looking around at the page and
They call it leaky brain.
The findings were followed by suppression, misinformation, and a shutdown of government-funded research in the United States.
It's the same play.
Oh, we got to get rid of Wi-Fi. What the fuck, Jamie?
I
have a hard time with this
pretty cool
place.
though.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's terrifying.
Anyway, but I don't know, I can't tell you where the chronic disease epidemic, I think it's probably cumulative.
There's a lot going on.
There's
So
a
it's
lot
not just one
our
culprit.
kids are swimming around in a toxic soup, but we're now up to more than 54% of kids now have chronic disease, and I mean, one of the reasons I want to be president is to end that. Of NIH actually doing studies like this rather than suppressing them. And let's figure out what it is, why kids have chronic disease, and end it. It's costing us. I mean, during COVID, we have 4.2% of the global population. We had 16% of the COVID deaths. And that's probably a lot of reasons for that, but one of the reasons has got to be the burden that we have of chronic disease in our country. And we spend $4.3 trillion on health care every year in this country. 80% of that goes to chronic disease. So it's bankrupting us.
I wanted to talk to you about glyphosate because you brought it up. And one of the things I noticed when there was a test that came out, or a study